Jennifer. Yeah,
Sure.
folks, Chapter 65 does most of its meetings via Zoom. We also are the chapter that's responsible for both senators. Okay, and so in effect, we're the contact point for these senators, and we've taken on that role for several years now. And so we believe it's important for us to provide that to everyone in California, including those who are not in chapters, as well as those that are in chapters. And so we've tried to make sure that everyone's notified about it to the extent we can without mailing things in the mail. And so that's why, emails are sort of important for us nowadays in terms of getting out the messages, because things change, as in this case, Theresa was scheduled for 1 o'clock but had to reschedule. So I don't want to talk too much more about it, but we do believe as NARFE members that our political representatives are very important, and that we need to understand where they're coming from and what their thoughts are on issues that affect NARFE and federal employees and federal retirees. So, Pauline, go ahead and introduce Theresa.
Great. Thank you so much, Jerry. My name is Pauline Jue, and I am the Vice President of the San Francisco chapter, as well as the Federation President for all of California. So I'm very happy to be here with you. I'm very happy that you've all joined us. We're very honored today to have a representative from Senator Alex Padilla's office. Theresa Nevins has been great to talk to and work with, and she is very happy to be with us today. So let me turn it over to you, Theresa. We do have some questions that we did forward to her for her presentation, and then hopefully we'll have time to open it up for other questions. So, Theresa?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting us here today. I appreciate you being flexible on the time. I have a tour that I have to run to pretty quick after this, so appreciate your flexibility. My name is Theresa Nevins. Oh, and apologies that I'm on my phone. I logged in on my laptop and they're new, so of course the camera doesn't work. So thank you for understanding that technically. My name is Theresa Nevins. I'm the Senator's Bay Area Field Representative, so I'm located in our San Francisco District office. I cover the 9-county Bay Area on behalf of the Senator, minus Sonoma County plus Santa Cruz, just to make it confusing, as I love to say. So a lot of my work is with stakeholder meetings, events when the Senator is in district, and kind of chatting with the community as much as possible. I did also bring my colleague here, Natalie Watanabe, so I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Theresa. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Watanabe. I'm also in the San Francisco office. I am a caseworker. I'm here because I want to give you guys the opportunity to learn a little bit more about how our office can assist you if you're having issues with OPM. I work on OPM cases. If you have a concern, I see the chat. There might be some issues. You are more than welcome to reach out to our office via email, via phone, and we can start a case with our office and inquire on your behalf to the OPM.
Awesome. Sorry, Pauline, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of an insight about what I've been working on just in general, and then also kind of how it relates to federal employees. So in the Bay Area, there's a lot going on right now with transportation in the World Cup. So I've been doing a lot of kind of checking in with transit agencies, kind of hearing how they are in terms of their fiscal situations. A lot of the large operators are struggling, and a lot of small operators are also, feeling the impacts of that. So checking in with them, kind of chatting with them, especially around funding right now. There's a lot of, things that have changed recently that were maybe done a little bit differently prior to this administration. So talking through people, CDS requests, grant funding requests, how our office can kind of help support those. So I do write all the letters of support for any federal grants that come through from the San Francisco district, as do all my other colleagues across the state for their relative departments. So been working a little bit there and talking to people about funding. And then also just kind of in terms of federal employees, obviously been a very big, difficult year last year with the Trump administration. So every time I check in with a federal agency, I want to hear kind of what their attrition rates are, what their issues have been. There's a handful of agencies who have very high attrition rates or had a lot of people who took, early retirement, or a lot of people who had been fired. So kind of understanding where those impacts lie throughout each agency and also throughout the region, if there's been places that have been a little bit more impacted. So when I check in with federal agencies, that's one of the main things I do. And then also meeting with people who have been fired unjustly. So I used to connect pretty regularly with a group of federal employees who were fired unjustly and kind of chatted with them about their experiences and what they've been going through and, kind of any of their strategies for fighting back against this. So one of the things that I want to make sure I shared is if there's anyone who is interested in sharing their story, not only as someone who may have been fired unjustly, but just in general about being a retired federal employee and the roadblocks that y'all have been facing, our office always would love to kind of hear that and uplift those stories. It's really helpful both in public and private conversations. So even if you don't want to say like, hey, here's my name and I really want my story out there publicly, it's just really good for the senator to understand. And when he's chatting with colleagues, kind of bring up the pain that has been caused by the administration. So those are kind of the main things I wanted to cover. I also want to make sure Natalie had time to talk a little bit more in depth about her casework process and the things she may be able to help with, but also Pauline, happy to do the questions first, whatever you think is best.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, I think, Natalie, do you want to go ahead and mention anything in particular, or shall I just fire off the questions, or?
I can provide a brief overview of the casework and what I do, just to give people a better understanding and maybe let some questions percolate. So basically, I work on immigration, but I also help with the employment side of federal agencies. What our casework team does is that when constituents need assistance, for instance,
The 1099, yeah.
The 1099, I saw that question.
Yeah.
If individuals are having a difficult time getting in contact with the agency, they can come to us, and then we will submit an inquiry on their behalf. We kindly request that you guys provide a privacy release form and include a really detailed description of what your concerns or issues are, because the liaisons that we are getting in contact with in OPM read that, and the more detailed it is, the more precise the answer we can receive from the agency. So yeah, I noticed the 1099 forms, people were having, I guess, a hard time accessing. So that would be something that.
Sorry, Natalie, this is Pauline. I think the question is, some people haven't received the 1099, and they may not know that OPM has gone to an all electronic access. They used to mail them out. This year, they're no longer mailing it out. So I think they have to call OPM. But one of the suggestions made by a participant on this call is, because it was so last minute and sprung on us, and a lot of people don't have electronic access, can there be a dedicated telephone line created by OPM for those who want to go, just get the 1099? So we would ask if your office could pursue that with OPM.
Sure. As a casework team, we work with individual constituents. That's more of an overall change in organization. So I understand that it's been hard for people to get in contact with the OPM. So my job is to help people one-on-one individually get in contact with them.
And how do they find you? Do you have an email, a phone number?
Yeah, so our casework team works out of our casework inbox, which is casework_Padilla@padilla.senate.gov. It's an email. You can find it through our website. I understand that not everyone has email, so they can also call our office, and then we have people on the lines who can walk them through how to fill out a privacy release form, how we get in contact with them. Obviously, if someone prefers communication via phone, I'm more than happy to call them once I pick up their case via phone. It's just very individual, situational, and whatever works best for the constituent.
So maybe you can drop that into the chat. Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and conversely, I just want to make sure I jump in as well. I'm happy to kind of raise that concern with our legislative team. I think that's a really great access issue point. So I'm not sure that we can, guarantee we get the agency to perform something, but happy to kind of let our people in DC know we're seeing this a lot and this has been a big issue for y'all. So that's what I want to make sure I'm doing here today, is making sure your concerns are really getting distilled and passed along to the senator in a report. And, it's great that y'all have action items you want to see. So I definitely will be sure to pass that along to the senator and our DC staff.
Great. Thank you so much. Natalie, did you have anything else? You want me to start firing off the questions?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to thank the senator, first of all, for being a co-sponsor on the Equal COLA Act, because a lot of FERS retirees obviously are not getting the same COLA that the CSRS retirees are. So we thank the senator for being a strong supporter of federal employees and federal retirees. In today's climate, he's been great in terms of standing up for individual rights, federal employees' rights. So we really are very grateful and thankful for that. Somebody asked a question about MSPB and whether or not employees who have been wrongly fired or affected, can they still file MSPB complaints or grievances, and how? Let's just start with that. Can employees still file MSPB complaints?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. So I did let Pauline know, and also just for everyone's context as well, here in the state, we aren't working specifically with our legislative team. So while we are obviously aware of what's going on legislatively, some of the more nitty-gritty questions we might not be able to answer in specific. So I know that this question was sent ahead of time. I've sent it to my DC staff to see if we can get a little bit more information, and we haven't been able to get a response since I didn't send it over with a lot of notice. So did let our DC team know that y'all are looking for an answer to that. We'll get back to you as soon as we hear specifically. But in general, would say if people are having issues and were wrongly fired and want to talk about it, we would love to, hear your story and kind of understand that.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that MSPB board is finally fully staffed and now able to, they've always been accepting cases, but they haven't been able to meet on them and render decisions. So they're really backlogged right now. So if you have one, it's still there. And I think there was a proposal to charge $500 in the future for employees to file a complaint, and that is off the table from what I understand, but don't quote me on that. There was a question about the Postal Service. I guess there was a proposal to keep it as an independent agency. And I think what our membership was very concerned about is that basically hands off the Postal Service and let it just be a Postal Service and not, be privatized and blah, blah, blah. So that's something that I think we're very interested, because we have quite a few postal retirees as well. All right, let's see what else there is. The 199. Okay, there's that. Somebody asked a last minute question. I'll just put it out there. I'm not sure, has there been talk about the 25th Amendment?
Yeah, great question. Definitely, we've seen a really big call campaign regarding the 25th Amendment. I think anyone with, who is seeing what's going on right now is gravely concerned. Can I speak to exactly how that would be invoked and when? Not necessarily, but can certainly say many constituents are speaking in and letting the senator know that that's an option that they want him to take.
Yeah. So do you see any, from your perspective, high up, what kind of threats do you see on the horizon for federal employees and retirees?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, last year kind of laid the groundwork in terms of playbook that the administration is trying to go by, right? And I think that, especially during the shutdown, trying to fire people as quickly as possible and hope that the courts can't catch up. I think one of the things I've heard a lot in my conversations with people who've been unjustly fired is that, in theory, they could get reinstated, but it's how do you sit around and wait, and live in this uncertainty? And so I think that, the biggest threat here in this administration is just their speed at which they want to be, causing chaos. And I think that we've seen the playbook pretty clearly, where definitely concerned about continuing unjust firings, where it's even if people get reinstated or even if we're able to fight these in the courts, the damage has been done, right? And so I think we definitely want to, again, understand what people are going through and trying to uplift these stories. But I think just trying to have as much information as possible here in the stateside that we can arm our DC team with.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm also looking at the chat, and there's quite a few things. I'm going to try to figure out where to start. Last 2 years. Okay. Caseworker. Uh-oh. Somebody says every time they call your office, nobody answers the phone. Even if they leave the contact, nobody calls her back. Oh dear. And then that goes along with, there's another comment about, could the senator establish an office north of Sacramento, like in Butte or Tahoma or Shasta counties?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really sorry to hear that you called our office and you didn't hear back. I apologize. That's obviously not what we want to be doing. Just to kind of provide some context on how our offices are set up. So here in San Francisco, there's only 4 employees. And so we have one employee who helps answer the phone, our staff assistant. Myself and Natalie are there as well, and then our deputy state director. And so the staff assistant is responsible for answering the phone, and we also have interns who help out and answer the phone as well. So often we are receiving like 3 calls within the same moment. So if someone's already on the phone or someone's in a meeting, it's just not possible to pick up every phone call. I think right now we're receiving probably like 600 calls a day, I would say, is my rough estimate. So it's just a really large volume for what a small team can handle. So I do apologize that when you do leave callback information, you're not receiving any information back. Typically with opinion calls, we note the opinion and we don't like provide any callback just because the volume is so high, we wouldn't be able to do that. But definitely we'll be happy to kind of send that feedback along that you've been calling and not hearing back. That is not how we want to be, proceeding with our office. So apologies that that's been happening.
Wow, 600 calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it varies office by office as well. Like, for example, our Fresno office only has 2 staff members total. So it's truthfully, the volume is just really high right now, as it should be. People are calling in with their concerns and calling in to get help. So again, apologies that that's what's happening. I hope that helps provide context, but obviously we will pass that information along to that team and let them know people are wanting to hear back.
So there's a question from Dennis, and I'll read the comment, and then if we need more information, Dennis, you can speak up. He would like you to speak to S 2837, the Protect America's Workforce Act, which there's a companion House bill that has passed. Is there any chance that there'll be a floor vote on the Senate?
I unfortunately won't know the answer to that. I apologize. I will have to check in with my DC team and see where that's at.
Okay. And then somebody wrote in, my issue is my ORA, and I don't know what the acronym stands for myself, is held up in the National Finance Center. It's been 3 months. I think maybe that would be better handled by Natalie. So if Julie you could contact Natalie directly, I think she'll probably need more information so they can then try to work through that with you.
Sure. I can also just jump in really quickly and provide a little context as well. So we have 5 or 6 caseworkers across the state, and we each specialize in a different portfolio. So I do employment, someone else does immigration, another person does the financial portfolio. So when you submit your case to our office via email or our portal on our website or via phone, that gets triaged to the correct caseworker automatically.
Great. And speaking of immigration, so Senator Padilla reported today the terrible conditions that he saw at the ICE detention center, and we're just wondering what the 2 senators, Senator Schiff and he, are working on to try to help reform ICE.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we've all been seeing what ICE has been doing, and I know the senator is not in support of a budget increase. We are getting a large call campaign in terms of having the senator pull back all funding from ICE. Not able to comment on that specifically with this appropriations bill, unfortunately, but definitely can kind of speak on, the senator is not supportive of what's happening. We all see their budget, implies our priorities, right? And if we're giving this humongous budget increase to ICE while firing federal employees or cutting back from all these grants, that just kind of speaks to how we want our country to be pointed forward to. So haven't been able to check in with my field team that was there at the center yesterday, but I know that here I've been chatting with a lot of immigration groups and hearing what they've been seeing in terms of detention. For me specifically, I've been talking a lot about the conditions at 630 Sansom in San Francisco. And I know that there's been an ACL block there. So we continue to monitor that all in our own specific regions. Just an example, sorry, excuse me, my goodness. But I know obviously the conditions there are horrendous. And so it was eye-opening for the senator to be there in person. And other than that, I know it'll continue to catalyze him on his mission to make sure that we are, not funding this terror that's been happening through our country.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he had not personal experience, but he's been roughed up too when he's tried to make a stand on things. Oh, going back to the question about the ORA, so that's an online retirement process. And Julie, I think I heard there was like 55,000 applications waiting to be processed by OPM. So I don't know if I think that would be better handled by Natalie to find out where your case is. And you'll have a case number or a CSA number or whatever so that she can then help you push that through. Okay, I think there's some other questions that, let's see.
There's one here about another bill that she was concerned about, Susan.
Yeah, do you have the number on that?
17.
Can I interrupt for a sec? It's Julie.
Yeah, Julie.
So a couple of things. I work for a legislative branch agency. I worked for GAO, and we can't even get our applications into OPM because they're stuck at the National Finance Center. So that's the problem. Is we are part of the whole online application process, but they can't even get to OPM to be part of a 50,000 application queue because they're stuck at the National Finance Center. So I get it. I'll write to Natalie, but it's just that there's this whole other process that I don't know whether it's unique to GAO or other agencies, but they have to be reviewed before they can be passed on to OPM. And It's been 3 months. It's ridiculous that they're stuck in this other agency. So I'll reach out to Natalie, but I don't know that other agencies aren't experiencing this delay also, but it's pretty horrific.
It is pretty, and this is Pauline. I used to work in HR. So my guess is that because so many agencies have downsized or centralized operations, especially HR and staff people in the field, that's contributing to backlogs and stuff. You're right. They're stuck somewhere. And I mean, I don't know how we're going to fix unless they rehire the people they let go, which is crazy, but that's my personal opinion. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really quickly to jump in, Julie, if you want to send your email to me or Natalie privately in the chat, we can send you the form really quickly so that you have it right away, so that you don't have to send an email and then get the form. So if anyone is interested in trying to open casework, please feel free to just send us your email so we can send you a form and get the casework process started.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Natalie put the online form in the chat. So, the link to it anyway. Okay, the Senate bill I would like to respond to the Senate Resolution 147. Susan, you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Okay, it's okay for me to unmute.
Sure.
You are unmuted now.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's the Senate companion bill for HRES 70. And that deals with the privatization of the Postal Service. And I've written 4 letters to Senator Padilla and Schiff requesting that he become a co-sponsor for SRES 147. The letters I get back, the one letter I got back out of the 4 times I wrote, he referenced HR 3076 and S 1720, which is the Postal Service Reform Act of 2022. That relieved the Postal Service of the pre-funding mandate, where the Postal Service had to pre-fund the health benefits for retirees 75 years in advance. Okay, but neither one of those bills had any language, none, zero, regarding privatization. And yet, again, the response I got back from Padilla just tap danced around the whole issue. He did not answer the question. So I'm trying to find out what is his position about co-sponsoring SRES 147, or is he in favor of privatization?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I did send it along to our policy advisor to try and get more specific information as to why he's not co-sponsoring that specific bill. I can let you know he is against privatization. He's spoken out against it many times. So I don't know the specific reason why he isn't co-sponsoring that. So again, happy to check in with DC and try and get an answer for you.
I appreciate that. It's a big concern. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as Americans, we're so used to having really good postal service delivery that any kind of cutback or private, I mean, really, Amazon is not going to go the last mile that the post office does. And I think people are just short-sighted if they think they can privatize everything because, hello, Amazon's using the post office right now to deliver the last mile. So, okay, so I think that's all the questions that I had, unless I skipped over something. They use drones. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's right, exactly. Probably okay. Inside my office, there's active employees who received mixed responses from congressional consistent issues raised, and were told numerous issues from facility concerns, safety, and HR that they can be helped. Is there a policy to not address federal employees' inquiries, or at least go to the agency and ask what's happening? Theresa?
Yeah, absolutely. It might be helpful to get a little bit more context about what those inquiries were and why those responses were. There definitely is not a policy saying like, okay, a federal employee submitted this request, so we are going to deny it. That is certainly not what's happening agency to agency level. I think that casework is never a silver bullet, as we tell people. So sometimes people reach out to us where there's things like we either cannot do or the agency cannot do, which might lead to a certain outcome. But it would be really interesting to kind of learn specifically what these cases were, just so we can kind of better understand like either why they were denied or where they were receiving help, like what House office or Senate office was helping them. Like, I think that would be interesting context for us for sure.
Yeah, and I think from the person who submitted that question, one of the concerns that I know that he's expressed, and I'm sure other federal agency employees have expressed, is that they had people from DOJ that were walking the hallways, talking to employees, and basically, I think, trying to intimidate them from being good workers, just being uncertain about things. And I don't know how many DOJ employees are still on staff. I know some of them have been, like, I don't want to say infiltrated, but they're in the system and they're no longer special employees. So, yeah. Any other questions that people have? Or you would like them to work on the next year? Jerry?
I was thinking, Theresa, that there's a number of issues and bills that are in the Senate, and I wonder if there's a way for us to get, some of the more important ones, the ones that affect federal workers, and some comment back from the legislative team for Senator Padilla in terms of, his support or non-support or his position on it. And I think that'd be really helpful for us so that we would have some sense of things, and then if we really, once those are clarified, then we, could look more intently on a particular issue that might be of concern that we might have.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. The questions that were sent over in advance have already been sent to DC to try and get some information. So as you kind of think of more or have specific pieces in the legislative platform you want us to like look at or clarify, we're definitely happy to do that. You can definitely send them to me and I can forward them along and we can get you a response. And just appreciate your guys' understanding, even though obviously not in DC, we understand legislation a little bit, but that all the granular good stuff that y'all guys want, would be happy to make sure we can get that for you from DC. So.
And I think we could post that on the California Federation site, and that would be a way for us to communicate across the state, something that came from this event and something that would be helpful to the federal workers and the federal retirees that are interested in particular issues that affect them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Theresa, we have some more. Another call for a service office north of Sacramento. Got a big push from that community up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to address that because I know it got brought up. Thank you for saying that. How our office space works is it's similar to like we only have a certain amount of square footage. So I can check in with our ops person and see if there's any plans or if we have a lot of square footage. Our field representative in Sacramento covers the very northern parts of the state. So definitely happy to kind of let him know that y'all are looking for a little bit more of him physically being in person. But not 100% sure that we would be opening an office super far north, but can check in with our office person for sure.
Yeah, I think they would appreciate just another staff person just to be able to contact people. A couple of other things. Someone mentioned that they met at last year's LegCon, the NARFE meeting. Andrew Carrillo?
Yes.
Is he still working for you guys?
No, he transitioned to Representative Juan Vargas's office.
Okay. And there was a question about service comp dates, but I think, Joel, that I think that's why it's really important for current employees to keep all the SF50s. You've got to keep your own records. You cannot rely on EOPFs to have your information. But Joel, is that what you were asking about in terms of, okay.
Hey, thanks, Pauline. I think, Theresa, you asked for specifics. Those are 3 examples that came up. And I think that Pauline's point about SF50s are great, but if the supervisors don't have the ability to fix, and you go to the human resource staff and it doesn't get fixed, and it's 8 months, 10 months later, and you put a deferred resignation in, then you're denied.
Right.
I think federal staff don't have an outlet. And so what they're doing is they're telling them, go to your congressional reps, go to your senators. And then people push back and say, hey, those are federal employee issues. We don't hear that. And so there's no outlet and there's no fix. So those are 3 examples. There's like 8 or 9, but I think those are the most solid that have come up a number of times. No responses from federal agencies not processing retirement applications and or deferred resignation. I think that, and the last one really that came up and bubbled up was building safety and knowing the environment that we had somebody injured coming to and from transit. People were asking if they could go to the Oakland Federal Building, knowing that the environment wasn't the best around San Francisco. Could they actually telework since there was space at the Oakland Federal Building and almost, most places were empty in that building? Why couldn't that be based on the administration's return to office as an alternate to teleworking? So I think everyone had examples of fixes, but when they turned to various offices, they were given, we don't do anything with those. So those are 3 solid ones.
So if you don't mind, Theresa, let me address some of that. The safety issue to and from work, I'm guessing you're talking about transit to the workspace, and then asking whether or not changing your work location, your duty station from San Francisco to Oakland because there's a better location for safety. I don't know if the senator could address that because that's really a work agency issue. And I think that's your complaint is who do you turn to when you try to go to your agency and they say, oh, well, we're trying to work on this or, put it in the queue and we'll hope you get it. But I think, Joel, I'm not sure the safety issue, because I know at the federal building on 7th Street, at one point they had a buddy system so that people could escort each other to and from transit. I think that was, Jerry, do you remember that was from GSA?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was.
You hit it right, Pauline. It is GSA. And I think that was we were trying, this is paraphrased from other staff too. So
yeah.
Don't make it, I can't make it my personal issue, but what I can say was there was tri-office meetings with San Francisco Police, Federal Police, Blue Jackets from the Marshals, BART Police.
Yeah.
And those meetings stopped. And GSA refused to respond about the actions that were being taken. And so what ended up happening is, I can only speak to what I've watched.
Yeah.
You basically can't come to work before the lights are on because they haven't cleaned everyone away from the building. So you basically kind of, hey, what do I do if I can't get to work because I can't walk on the sidewalk at a BART? And I think that was the bigger issue as those agencies were meeting and those meetings stopped. And so people asked GSA, what's your response and why did the meeting stop? Because it's still unsafe to go to work before, the sunrise and the street crews clean everyone away. I think those were the issues was trying to get GSA. It wasn't working conditions because I agree that's a union issue, but getting GSA to conduct the meetings and publish the notes that completely stopped was a little bit disconcerting to a lot of people in the building.
Well, that seems like an abdication of their responsibility, right? They're supposed to be responsible for the building and people in the building. So, Theresa, do you have any suggestions on that? One of the things that popped in my head, Joe, but it won't help necessarily. I was thinking, like, the mayor's office. I mean, he doesn't want people complaining and losing constituents in San Francisco duty stations, but I don't know if he would have any authority or push,
That's not a bad idea.
because he seems to be on a golden track right now and a lot of persuasion skills with DC. So I would try that too. Theresa, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you sharing. That's really helpful for me to understand. I think like from a casework perspective, there's not something we can do, but now that I know kind of about this issue, I'm going to be checking in with GSA and kind of hearing like why this communication, came down. So if I hear anything about that, I'll be happy to follow up with you guys, but just kind of understanding the issues y'all are facing, like when getting to work is important. So I will connect with GSA and see if they can, give us a little bit of information. So inquiring on behalf of the senator of why that communication broke down, I think is how I will go about that. So appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, Joe. So we may have to just keep on top of stuff like that because you're hearing it from the ground level. And I think the more examples we can provide, concrete examples, I think would help Theresa a lot in terms of making the case.
I also think that as folks are running into new issues that affect federal workers and either their retirement or active, that we start creating on the California website issues there that are put there, and that then we will bring them to whomever we think they might be of some help, and we will try to get a response up there as soon as we get a response on it. So, I think we can have sort of an ongoing connection both with the senator's office and with the issues that people are experiencing, both as active workers and as federal retirees. We shouldn't have to wait until we have a meeting with Theresa. We should be able to work on these things. And I think, that's the responsibility of our chapter, is to work on this. And so I think we'll start with that. We've had difficulty getting in contact with Schiff's office. He also struggled with, getting enough locations, getting space. I mean, they had people in San Francisco before they had them in Los Angeles, in Southern California, that were offering assistance. So there are some issues that I'm not fully aware of as to the amount of money that's being given to the senators or to the congressperson to even establish offices.
Yeah, because we had reached out to Schiff's office and they said, we can't do anything. We're too busy trying to set up everything. There's a suggestion by Sharon in here, which I think is a good one, is trying to go through Nancy Pelosi's office as well. I mean, I think any kind of political swag we can do, push, use it, because she's a very strong supporter of federal employees as well. And she's very concerned about San Francisco safety. So that's a really good idea. And I guess their office may have been involved in the security discussions that were happening, the BART Buddy program. Thank you, Francine. There were some other questions I was going to look at. Let's see.
I did want to jump in on the topic of House members. As both House members and senators are able to do casework. So if you prefer to go through your House member, they also have their own casework team, same agencies, same contacts. If it's easier for you to reach their offices, by all means, you can go through them as well.
A couple of other questions about a DC email, foreign affairs or national security staff. Is there such an office in Washington, Theresa?
I think I'm assuming you're talking about for our staffer.
Yeah.
DJ Villazaro. So he's our policy advisor for foreign affairs. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I talked over that. Can you put that in the chat?
Yes, sorry, I am not having access to the chat. Do you mind if I email it to you after? I apologize.
Yeah. You're on the phone. That's why I forgot. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
So somebody asked too, is Joshua Esquivel still the legislative director?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Let's see. Is the senator fighting for reinstatement of funding that we have for infrastructure and hydrogen plant construction projects planned, scheduled, or in progress in California?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. The senator is a really big supporter of hydrogen power. One of the events that I've done with him here in district has been with Arches for like the hydro-powered ferry that WIDA has, and then also just kind of talking about their hydrogen fueling station. So when the news kind of came out about the shifting priorities for the administration, that's definitely something we raised a lot of alarm for, and it's something that we're really, really focused on. So if you have super specific questions, I can check in with DC about like the work that we're doing, but can definitively say that that's a big priority for us. And in terms of my work, a lot of the transit agencies, there's the like CARB mandate that buses have to be zero emission by 2040. And so a lot of bus operators were looking at switching to hydrogen fuel cell buses. And I've already heard a handful of them are kind of reconfiguring as a result of the fallout from Arches. So we're trying to understand that from our partners here about kind of how that policy has impacted them. So big priority for the senator, certainly.
Great. So Theresa, I will shut up and you can say the name of the person who's the foreign affairs staff person.
Yes, absolutely. JJ Villazaro. And I will send you his email, Pauline.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm not seeing anything on. Oh, here's one. Oh, they're really, yeah. So Joel, thanks you and Natalie for taking the time to hear the concerns. And us for hosting it. Yeah, I think it's a really important thing that we feel very strongly about giving people information, giving access, and providing help. That's what NARFE is all about. So thank you for agreeing to be with us too. That's really, really helpful because, we need help. So that's good. Since we have a lull in terms of questions, do you want to talk about the upcoming games that you're working security on? Just nosy, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you guys being flexible in the timing. I know that it's been difficult to find some time, so appreciate your questions, appreciate the work that you do. Any information that we can receive from y'all, opinions, stories, is really helpful for us to understand, not only here in the district so I can see patterns, but obviously in DC so we can, talk about legislation. As things are tumultuous with the administration, we want to make sure that we, are understanding all of what y'all are going through. So just appreciate you sharing your stories and sharing your time to be here and ask us some questions. But yeah, I mean, for the Bay Area, there's obviously been a lot going on. And I think with the World Cup and Super Bowl, there's a lot of things that are happening, both like in terms of security and in terms of funding. So just been having a lot of conversations about federal funding that's needed. There's a federal funding match that's outstanding that transit agencies are advocating for. And then also just kind of understanding like the security concerns and the increased potential enforcement concerns. I know that is something that happens around kind of these mega events. And so just being really conscious of what people are asking for and how it will be kind of applied, I think is important for us to understand. So I will not be at either the Super Bowl or the World Cup in work capacity, but definitely excited for what they will bring to the region, and also hearing a lot of like coalition conversations around the events. Obviously they're in the South Bay, but attended an event where Marin County, Santa Clara County, and San Francisco were all present, kind of talking about the joint work they're doing around preventing human trafficking. So just a really big regional collaborative effort that hopefully will bring a lot of economic boon to the area.
So is there anything that Senator Padilla's office is working on that you can share with us? Regard to federal employees or?
Yeah, I mean, in general, we want to continue to hear your information. And I think that as we learn more about what the administration is trying to do, making sure that we're kind of pushing back. So here in district, I think my work will continue to be checking in with agencies and hearing stories and just understanding, especially attrition rates, especially now that we've kind of been a year into this. Last year with a lot of like chaos and trying to understand what's happening. So just trying to get a better feel of how to move forward. So that's what I anticipate my work being here in district. And then obviously DC will be continuing with their legislation.
Yeah. Do you foresee more, God willing not, layoffs for federal agencies? I mean, they cut back a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, the optimistic side of me would love to say I don't foresee it. I just think in terms of at least who I'm speaking to and in terms of the work that they do, I don't even know how they're managing with the current staff that they have. So I don't know, to your point, right, we're speaking about a 55,000 application backlog, right? There's backlogs in IRS. I used to do IRS casework and passport casework, and there's backlogs everywhere. So I know that is the intention of the administration, right, to weaken the federal workforce and try and move towards privatization. But I just really do feel we are so bare bones, at least a lot of people I talk to, that I don't know how further cuts could happen, but maybe that's just wishful thinking.
So maybe, like you were saying, the more stories about how these cutbacks have impacted their daily lives would be helpful in terms of making a real person the story, and not just, hyperbolic assumptions about things, but really showing on the ground effects that these cuts are having. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any news about the ACA or because I know I have a friend who is on ACA and her premiums are going to go up crazy. Where are we with that?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitively say the senator will always be supportive of the ACA. The reason he was voting no continuously during the shutdown was because there was never going to be anything that he signed on to without an ACA tax credit deal. So big champion of that. I think with the upcoming date at the end of the month here, we'll kind of be getting more information. I haven't heard from my team anything recently. Our meeting was canceled this week to check in with them. So don't have anything super specific, but can definitely assure y'all that there will be nothing that he votes on that does not include an ACA tax credit. So.
Yeah, one of the things I was hearing is that because the open season is closed and there was such a drop off in terms of new enrollments, or people renewing their enrollments, that there was talk about extending the open season until March. Hopefully, once they fix, the whole subsidy issue, but to give people a real chance then to not lose their health insurance.
Interesting.
As long as we're talking about health benefits, have you heard anything about, federal health benefits for federal workers and federal retirees? And, there's always a lot of stories going on out there about, we'll just, we'll give them a voucher and they'll have to figure out what to do with it, shall I say. So anything you've seen that's going on there?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything specifically. I'm wondering, Natalie, if you've gotten any casework requests or have been seeing any patterns.
No patterns that I've seen with OPM besides people not being able to get in contact with the agency.
Yeah, and I think just to put a plug in for John Hatton and his crew in the NARFE office in DC, he had a briefing earlier this week. I think it was earlier this week or last week. I can't remember. I think the voucher issue is off the table, but I'm guessing it'll show up again because what I heard from John Hatton is there was too much political bipartisan support to kill the voucher proposal because they realized that it would affect too many people and people would be outraged if that happens because that will automatically raise a lot of people's health the share they have to pay for their health benefits premiums. So I think it's off the table for now, but I'm guessing they'll make another run for it using cost as the reason to do that. Or this is me thinking, we'll give people the power. We'll give them the money and then they can buy whatever health insurance they want, which is what they're trying to sell with the ACA as well. Is anyone looking into the high cost of long-term insurance? Yeah, OPM has put a stop to new enrollments, and I haven't heard anything more about that. My guess is that it is very expensive. When I got my health insurance, my long-term care, I checked with my regular insurance carrier, and he said, do not drop this. You will not find this kind of price because OPM was supporting, financially so much of it. I'm not sure anymore. Maybe, Theresa, you could find out what is OPM doing about long-term care? Because it's been radio silence. We haven't heard anything in over a year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely happy to follow up on that for y'all.
Okay, and somebody put in the chat, thank you, Regina, that the ACA extension is including funding bills today that are up for a vote. Good. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, again, I just want to say thanks, Theresa and Natalie. It's good to see real people and to have a chance to expressed some concerns. But as I say, I think we can create an ongoing thing on the California website for NARFE that would continue to get updates on particular issues of concern that affect federal workers and federal retirees. And I think we want to focus on that. And also, I think the post office has, concerns and uncertainty there, and we're always interested in understanding more about what's going on with those issues that are there. And then, of course, this whole thing of health benefits, which is, an ongoing issue that is constantly being discussed. So anyway, I think, we have to get a connection, and then now we need to have a way of updating information that you can provide for us, because I do realize that, you have to get with your team in Washington, the legislative folks, and get, more information. But I want to share that with our members throughout California.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great idea. And thank you all again for your time and for the invitation. We always say that this is the start of a long conversation. So glad that we were able to make this happen. And please do not hesitate to reach out how we can be helpful. I have a great list of things to follow up on. So I appreciate y'all providing that to us and just appreciate your time.
Jerry, any last words before we sign off?
No, I think we're all set.
We'll put a plug for next month.
Oh, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
next month, we're excited. I don't have the date in front of me. I always get the date screwed up. But we're going to have Joyce Okazaka, I think her last name. Sorry, I mangled her name. But we have a person who was 7 years old when she was interned in Manzanar with her family during the war. And we've invited her to come speak to us about her perspective. I mean, granted, she was a little girl during the time that she was put into the camp, but I think it's an interesting perspective given what's going on in terms of people being put into camps and things. So anyway, that's our next month's meeting, and our meetings are always the third Wednesday of every month, usually at 1:00. And we'll be putting something out on the Zoom, and all Federation members are invited to attend if they would like.
Yeah, and it would be the 18th at 1 p.m.
18th of February.
Yes.
Okay.